Welcome to this very special edition of The Author's Voice with KAJ, a show where we explore the stories behind the stories. Here we dive into the worlds created by authors, discover their inspirations, and ensure that you walk away enriched and inspired. And today we have with us author Christopher Kaufman. He's not only an author, he's a composer, concert presenter, illustrative artist, and performer. And in addition to his work as composer for the concert stage and film as a concert organizer, he has created an ongoing classic epic fantasy series titled Tales of the Ocean City. And we'll talk about this book today. Sailboat will learn directly from him. Enjoy this experience. Let's dive into the story behind the story. Welcome to the show, Christopher.
Oh, thank you so much. Glad to be with you again.
You're welcome. Welcome once again to the KAJ Masterclass, but this time on the Author's Voice with KAJ, we'll be talking. So, Christopher, before we come to your book series, before we come to all the magic that you have created in this book series, let's learn about how did this series come into fruition? What was the idea behind it? How did you even get into all this line? Tell us the story behind the author first.
Sure. Well, I started writing fantasy stories with illustrations when I was like 9 years old. But then I found music a little ways later when I was a student at the New Orleans Center for Creative Arts during high school. I discovered music and had great teachers, and then lived the life of a composer for many years, all the way through a doctorate in music composition at Cornell University in Ithaca. But my stories never left me, I'm the type of person that to put myself to sleep at night, I have to have an active imaginative scenario. So I basically emerged from my schooling phase with my music degrees and the entire event structure of Tales of the Ocean City through book 8 in my head. And then I started writing it down. It was like the early 2000s. And it was okay, but it wasn't quite working for me. But when I developed my home studio, where I was creating music in my laboratory, as I call it, and started doing the music, narration, and the story all at the same time, then it really came to life for me. And I found my voice as an author with the music going on at the same time, and it's all conceived at once. And so I've been working on it since that time. And I actually, like I said, I'm finishing book 8 now, but the first 5 are a series in itself where it describes the epic war with the Vorm. And the example we have actually describes and introduces the story well. Do you want to go to that?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Tales of the Ocean City is the epic tale about a young civilization turning the corner into the future. But first they must face a terrible enemy from the deep past. The main characters are a young man named Harloot and his lifelong companion Vespucian, who is a Parianth, a kind of telepathic Pegasus. Book 1, Battle in the Sky.
"Vespucian, aloft!" cried Harloot. With a thrust of her wings, the white Pegasus shot upwards through billowing clouds. Harloot stood with his arms held out, balancing on her back. They burst into vast heights, the realm of Curlrye, the morning sun. Whose powerful beams illumined iridescent mist of his golden skin. Far below, the ocean roared and thundered. Vespucian reached the pinnacle of her high arc. Now, she thought to him. The Pegasus hovered, and Harloot dove backwards from her haunches. In a swan dive, he clove through tiers of frothing clouds. He used his chest and arms to glide in a spiral through the planet-turf wall's thick atmosphere. He reached the cool, misty air just below the clouds, jackknifed and straightened, then sliced right into the churning ocean currents. Dark purples and greens suffused his eyes as he penetrated cold, shadowy depths. He arched his back, frog-kicked, and drifted lazily up towards a ceiling of shimmering blue light. A quick flash of fiery light caught Harloot's eye. He saw a circlet of fire jade winding through the Princess Brinlin's hair, which flowed about her neck and shoulders like a cloud of red and orange flames. A scarlet ribbon wound around her lithe form and down her back to meet an abundant sash. A skirt of loose swags flared about her legs in the wind. Harloot cleared his mind with a mesmerizing vision, stood on Vespucian's back, and prepared to utter his call and greeting. But Vespucian suddenly pulled up short in the air and mouthed a rasping bark. Her telepathic voice rang in his mind. Danger! Alarm! Enemy! Harloot instantly hunched over, gripped the mesh along her withers with one hand, and craned his neck up into the left. He followed Vespucian's stark gaze. Multicolored whorls dissipated in the thick glaze of morning light. A blur formed at the edge of his vision and separated into three jagged shapes growing in size. Blood-red streaks rent the air as three giant warriors riding massive red and black Parians shot past, heading directly towards the princess. Sound, followed by a venomous, sweet, acrid miasma, sliced through Harloot's senses. All went dark.
So you see what you have there is a fully cinematographic music and the graphically illustrated pages flowing by. The actual physical book, it looks like this. Here, you see. So you have the pages. And so to make the video book, I just took these and put them through Final Cut Pro, which I make the movies out of, and added the audio book to it. And there you go. And it's a very immersive experience, but you have there, like that was the introduction chapter, which is actually 10 minutes long. And obviously I chopped it down for the purposes of tonight or today, whatever time it is for you there.
Wonderful. So, Christopher, to understand it better, means how should a simple person who knows about your production, what would they understand? Is it a book? Is it a video? Is it a immersive audio? Is it image, visuals? Is it a theater? What is it?
Yes. So answer is yes to all that. But, it has the physical books here, right? And then on my store, KaufmanTales.com, you can get the audio books that go with. I call them audio albums, actually, because there's so much music. And the narration is interactive, to create this immersive experience. And then, so you have the ebooks, the physical books, and the audio books, and all that. And then the video book, which you just saw, is also up there. So people can just get that version. That's kind of the newest one where I put it all together into one thing. People can, if they want to just hear the music, they can just play the video book and listen. Or they can read. People do it a different way. Sometimes get the book first, and then I nudge them a little bit, and they get the audio, go, wow, okay. Then they might just listen, and then they might read, and it's a repeatable experience. like you see a favorite piece of music or a movie or something like that. So it's like everything except being an actual movie. It's so maybe it'll get there someday too, but right now this is the forms I have it in. And I have a
Absolutely.
great time making them. I mean, I hope you could tell how much fun I had creating these things. It's just a very vibrant experience, and it seems to communicate well to other people.
Absolutely, Christopher. Will yeah, very lot of fun, but lots of hard work too.
Oh,
We'll
yeah.
talk about that also. It is not an easy thing, but from a common person, and we'll come to the story part also. But first, from a common person's perspective, how would they just experience this? They need to buy this, then they have to plug in anywhere, or like a book, you can take it anywhere.
Well, sure. The book is a book, and the audio albums. I mean, when you order them, they just a download link appears in your email like in 30 seconds, and then they're MP3s, so you just like any music, you just download it onto your phone or onto whatever device you have, and there it is. The same with the ebooks. Like there's a Kindle version, though I prefer the fixed layout, the EPUBs, because it has all the art on it, which each page is like an individual work of art. So they just pop right into your Apple Books or whatever you have as an ebook reader. And of course the audio, and then the video books also. I mean, the video book, like what you just saw, also just downloads very quickly into your phone or whatever you're using. And there it is. So it's real easy. It pops right into your system. It's a download link, and the books, you order them. They're POD. They come from. Actually, my distributor is in England, the UK. It's called Book Vault, and they just had the best looking books. All the color. I had other ones, and the colors weren't satisfactory and that. So you get them from there, and they show up in a few days.
Absolutely. And now, coming on to the story itself, means
Yes.
Tales of the Ocean City. What is this book series all about? If I understand the image here, this was about the first one. But tell us about what this story is all about. Who is this story for?
Well, it has a lot of basic, classic fantasy elements in it, so that people can get into it really fast. Like you can see from the cover, there's a young man riding a Pegasus. So by describing it as a Pegasus, people can instantly see it in their mind. But then when they get into it, they realize these creatures are called Parianths, and there's something more than the Pegasuses. They're larger, and they're an ancient race, and they communicate telepathically. Now, when it comes to it, I've based these on the Parianths and the close relationship Harloot and Vespucian have, which are like family. And they're actually based on, our animal friends, the great pets I've had in my life, which are very close to me. And a lot of people identify with that aspect of it. So they're starting off in this idyllic beginning, when they're playing in the ocean, and they're actually on their way from the island Spire where Harloot grew up with Vespucian. And they're traveling to the ocean city to join in fully with the city life. And he sees the princess and her Parianth bond, Jigla, and he's going over to say hello. And then that's when the Vorm attack the enemy warriors. And thenceforward, I think of it as in time rather than pages, about 40 minutes of visceral, wild, glorious battle scenes, and then a really beautiful ending where this warrior, you'll actually in the next excerpt, maybe we should play that now. It has an adventure sequence, and then at the end of the battle, at the end of the book in episode 8, the ancient warrior Verdun, who's like the war leader, he lands with his Parianth bond, who is Jagafra. I love that name, Jagafra. And he's like the king of Parianths. And they survey the scene after this battle, and they talk about what is to come. And it sets up the epic battle wars that's going to happen later. So why don't we do that one now?
Absolutely, absolutely. And here it is.
Just a little bit. There you go.
Camouflaged in a small cloud, Vespucian tread the air with her wings. She awaited Harlut's return to consciousness. Harlut's senses cleared. "What was that?" he rasped. "What's happening?" "We were stunned by some kind of psionic blast," she replied. Her mental voice sounded coarse. She was furious with herself for being caught off guard. "Prepare for battle," she urged. Tension flowed through him as he gripped Vespucian's flanks with his knees. Having no weapon, he removed his tunic and wrapped the ends in his fists. Below, the princess was in the midst of her impassioned yet ill-advised attack. Vespucian burst from their cover in the small cloud. The enemy bore down upon Brynlin. The foremost warrior uncoiled its obscene form and aimed a bristling spike for Jigla's exposed chest. "Dive!" Vespucian commanded. Harlut took a quick breath and dove from her back, his arms outstretched in a swan dive. He held the ends of his rough cloth tightly in his fists. Wind whistled sharply in his ears, and turbulence buffeted him as he held his body rigid to control his dive. The spiky savage form rapidly neared. He braced himself as his tunic caught the lancer about the neck, unhorsed it, and sent it spinning to the plain below.
He felt a crushing weight of sadness fall upon him. He looked over to see Jigafra standing over the body of Jigla, his son. Verdun sighed. "I am so sorry, dear friend. He was a great being and died a tremendous warrior." In response, he felt from Jigafra only a complex wave of grief, almost beyond even his ability to translate in his mind. "There will be more strife, Jigafra. I see war ahead."
"Yes, as do I,"
echoed the great creature.
"These things, Pariahs have fought them before, long ago, an age past. I believe your race has encountered them as well."
Imagery now streamed in Verdun's inner eye as he glimpsed the scenes flowing in Jigafra's mind.
"We thought they were all destroyed. We call them the Vorn. They are hideous and evil, and incredibly dangerous if their hive is reformed."
There you have it.
Wonderful, wonderful, Christopher. So this is lots of imagination, lots of hard work, lots of imagery, lots of video, so many things. Means how did you put them all together? Means why to take so much of hard work? Is this the future that we are seeing now, future of books, Christopher? And that is what you want to tell the world with the hard work?
Well, one just does it. It came about over a long period of time. First, there's all the years of making a composer out of myself, and then having these stories in my mind and just conceiving of the idea of putting it together in this way. So whether other people take it up or if they or not, I don't know. But it's kind of a very personal form for me, with the music that I create, the images and everything that I create, and the story that I create, and all the life force that goes into it. So I don't know. You don't often, when things happen, the person who does it doesn't always say, "Oh, this is going to be the future of everything." You just do your thing and see what happens and how people react to it. But this story, so it's set up there about the Vorm War. And in the very beginning, it said in the first one, it's a story about civilization turning the corner into the future. But first, they must face an enemy from the deep past, and the Vorm. And later in the book, it talks about how the origin story of how the Vorm and the people evolved together on an ancestral island. And then the Vorm chased them off, and they changed. The Vorm changed and became xenophobic and evil, and they chased them off. And the people had to live were in rafts in the middle of the ocean and were assailed by storms and giant sharks and sea monsters. And then the Parianths saw them, rescued them, and took them to the feet of a vast volcano, out of the rock of which they carved over time the ocean city. And they worshipped this volcano as a god at first, and they called it Plathanta. That's why one of the names for the people are the Plathanterians. But that was a long time ago. So they've emerged from that ancient past and they're ready to turn to the future. But then the Vorm come and they have to deal with that before moving forward. So there's a lot of transitional elements where characters that symbolize the past and also represent like fantasy archetypes, then transition to younger people, younger characters, and they move into the future. Books 4 and 5 are the actual huge epic war, which is really wonderful and complicated and interesting. Book 2, this is book 1. So book 2, he wakes up in the royal spire of the king and the queen, and he joins and he goes out and explores the city and visits his friends and things like that. And then he engages in training games with the warrior mentor Calanctus. And then the main adventure sequence of book 2 is called Initiations. And that's where he goes into it's called Descent into the Abyss, because he goes down into the volcano that's now dormant and has adventures there. And he encounters personifications of the ancient god creatures and battles a prehistoric monster and meets another initiate and emerges at the end ready and trained to lead a cadre of young warriors who then participate with a vital mission in the Vorm War in books 4 and 5. Book 3, he's captured by the Vorm and taken to the island and has an adventure in the Red Maze, where he sees how that's when you really get to know how the Vorm are created and what makes them tick and what they're all about and how they operate and things of that nature. Then he returns and on we go. There's a lot of things that happen in the 5 books. But at the end of it, they're ready to turn the corner, and the follow-up series called The Green World, that's when they're moving forward. And as the story evolves, it becomes like fantasy sci-fi as they start exploring space and the world around their planet and things like that. So it's a lot about transition.
Absolutely. So how many books are there in this particular series, Christopher?
The opening series is 5, and the next series is 3, a triptych. And I'm actually finishing book 8 now. And then there'll be a whole new series after that, when they explore the Star Kingdom and go out into space.
Absolutely. What was the most challenging part of this imaginative work that you have been doing?
Well, the most challenging thing is, the wild things that occur in my imagination, the really detailed, imaginative images, and trying, to get that into language so people can see it in their imagination the way I'm imagining it, as close as possible, And so that's just an ongoing process. I feel like, I hopefully get better with each phrase. But especially in book 7, when they're on the planet Orshelia, and it's really involved with all the imagery and stuff like that. So that's the main challenge, is just getting it out of my head and onto the page.
Absolutely. So in a nutshell, what is it that you want readers, viewers, listeners of this of these books of yours to take away with them?
Well, I hope that through the experience of it, there's a lot of music in the books, I mean, Harloot composes, the king composes a great organ symphony in the beginning of book 2 that he's listening to. There's a lot of music, but in the books, and sometimes he'll decipher the rhythm of sentries or guards or something and find his way by, a musical solution to a problem. But on a larger scale, as a writer, being a composer really helps me in a lot of ways. For example, in musical harmony, it's about a more complex sound resolving to a more consonant sound, right? That's how harmony works, complexity to simplicity. And so, like, especially in book 1, the fraught and complicated battle scene resolves later on at the end of the chapter there you started in a really positive opening way. So it's a very cathartic kind of experience. And I would hope that people who experience that and go through it would then have a very positive reaction to it that might apply to how they see their lives and solving problems and complex problems.
Absolutely.
That sort of thing. Would hope.
Absolutely, Christopher. And this book is for all children, youngsters, older, anyone?
I call it YA plus. So young adult, but adult fantasy lovers are a chief part of it. Like me, I love The Lord of the Rings and I watch it with my daughter. So there you go. It's for both of us, So YA up.
Absolutely.
So I have had 10-year-olds really enjoy it too, but
Absolutely. There is so much to, learn and understand about the kind of stuff you are doing. And I'm sure a lot of people would want to learn more about the work you are doing, learn about the books that you are creating and will create in the future, be a part of it all. What is the best way for them to do that, Christopher?
Well, I have my online store. It's KaufmanTales.com, KAUFMAN, Kaufman Tales, TALES. And it's all there. It's at all the different forms, the ebooks, the physical books, the audio albums, the video book. And there's a lot more description, not a lot more to learn about them on there, and reviews and editorials and all kind of thing that they can attach to. So that's the way to do it. Right now, I don't have it. I used to be on Amazon, but I withdrew it, and I'll think about it for a while. But I just want to sell directly to people, and I want to be able to communicate with them because there's a lot more than just the book itself. So I can gather emails and just say hello. Have you tried the audio? Have you heard it? What do you think? And get feedback and grow it that way. So that's the way to do it.
Wonderful. With this, it's a wrap on this very special edition of The Author's Voice with KJ. Thank you so much indeed.
Thank you so much. Nice to see you again.